All right, today I'm going to show how I used a nitrogen tank, the setup that I have to inflate tires. And the reason I happen to use it today is going to be because I have a flat tire here. And I'd rather put on all my tires nitrogen instead of air is better for the tires. And you go Google the information, but it keeps the pressure more stable. Tires heat up less, they wear out less. It's just better. So my setup is, I got regulators for the nitrogen tank, which is the same regulator as for helium. The same thread, but the actual regulator itself is the same as argon and CO2 and nitrogen are the same. So you get a regulator for one of those, and you hook up a hose to it. That on the other side you could do it with a barbed fitting, goes to the hose, and then the other side that threads, the NTP, that threads into the chuck here for the air hose. And that's how simple it is. Now you gotta make sure that if you're gonna use a regulator that's the one, even though it's threads here for the argon or the argon CO2 mix, that you control this to always keep it under like 100 PSI, because those let you go. It might let you go a little bit higher on some. So, or you could get the nitrogen one, which usually has lower pressures here. And that, again, you can control all of that here with this, but if you get one that keeps it lower, you have less room for error there. I maintain mines at 100, 120 PSI. And the reason I say that is because hoses are normally like 150 PSI, and you don't want to over pressurize a hose and make it pop. That's the worst thing that will probably happen here that I can think of. And this is just the way I did it. That works. But do this at your own risk. So here, I'll open it slowly. See, it went right up to 100 here. This one tells you how much I have left. I have 1,000 PSI left in here right now, but it's at about 100, and I could regulate this to go higher or lower, but this regulator stops it at 150 maximum, so you can't mess it up. And now, let me see. Oh, I had it. Let me make sure I had it. Yeah, it's all the way to the right. There you go. All the way to the right gives it, actually, it's not even 150. This one's like 120, 125. Now, with that said, whenever you're using a tank, you gotta be very safe with it. You should have it chained up until something, because if it falls down and this valve hits, the gauge hits the ground, the connection between the valve and the gauge could be sheared and this becomes a rocket. Even though it's inert gas and this is not flammable, you still have a lot of pressure in there. Again, why I say to do this at your own risk, you gotta be careful. And now I'm gonna get the flat here with my simplest method, where I explained it before in another video when I got a flat in the front, which is, instead of having to have a spray bottle that you gotta then find one that's empty, you got a bottle of water, open a little hole on the top, just a skinny little hole. You can do it by poking with a knife. Put a bunch of soap and water, and then you do it facing, if you do it facing up, kind of like this, what happens is that it shoots out. When you shake it, bubbles at the top, and it shoots out bubble, kind of like the foam effect of doing the spray bottle. Where if you do it like this, it's just liquid coming out. So you want it like this, facing up. And as soon as you run out of all that bubble, shake it again and fill it up again. Now let's see if I could find this leak real quick, since I'm at it here. Just doing the video, but at the same time I could find my leak here. Also, let me check one corporate here that does it all the time, and it's the Schrader valve will leak sometimes from in here where the Schrader is, or from the perimeter where the rubber hits the the rim. Let me see here. Let's do the perimeter where the bead sits on the rim too. That's another area. The reason why I'm not just spinning the tire, by the way, is sometimes as soon as you put the soap, it doesn't show. It's after the soap kind of settles and moves around. So while that's doing that, I'm checking the bead outside, inside, the Schrader valve. And I'm still looking around to see. And I'll put it again a couple of times before I just start rotating. Because if not, you'll be rotating and rotating sometimes, and you could pass by it 2 or 3 times just because you're in a hurry. So give it some time. Again, I'm being very careful here because I'm not removing this here, and I don't have it chained up because that's how accidents happen, and you end up having a projectile. Oh, I found the leak just by pushing forward. Right there, hitting it. Check this out. Let's go right here. And this is why I love this method. It never fails to work. Let me bring the camera here down. Can you see it there? Should I zoom in? Yeah, right there. Look at these giant bubbles that it's doing. The soap that I like to use, by the way, is Ajax, which is a fairly economical soap. And for this bottle, for example, I'll put like this much Ajax, like about an inch, inch and a half, and the rest water, so that it's very soapy. And again, do it upright like that. Not like that, because you don't want just liquid coming out. It won't show the bubbles as good. So you go like that, and you shake it till it fills up with the foam. And you go like this. Once you run out, all that foam came out, it'll eventually come down to what's just liquid. Shake it again. Do not pump liquid out. Look at it right there, how simple. And it's through an old patch. See, sometimes what happens is that these plugs will leak because instead of there being like a puncture, it was more like a laceration, and the laceration starts to open up more. In that case, the best thing to do is to remove the tire and patch it from the inside with an actual, round patch that covers everything. But because this is definitely what you should do in a car. But because this is only a four-wheeler, I'm just gonna put another plug in there next to that one. And if that one gets pushed in, which happens sometimes, I'll just have to get two new plugs and put 2 plugs in it. Let me get my stuff here. Let me get the plug, the reamer, and the thing to push it in here, the plug insertion tool. I don't know why the one that I found here is that plastic one. I'm looking for the metal one. Plastic ones is the ones you kind of carry in the car. There you go, got the good one. The ones you carry in the car and for just an emergency. But here I got the metal one. And we're gonna go ahead and put one of these plugs in here now. Let me zoom out a little bit. So if that other one gets pushed in, it's because it's very flush right there. What I'll do is that I'll leave this one partially out so that I could put a second one in, holding this one from falling in. Because that happens all the time when you're doing a double plug, which, again, you should not do it on a car. I'm only getting away with this because on a four-wheeler, I'm not going high rate of speed. I'm just gonna use it here at the farm here. So it won't be like on the road or going fast or anything. So it's not a big deal if all of a sudden I lose air. Putting some of the little paste here to make it easier to go in. That's all this paste is for. It's not like a glue or anything. See what I mean? How it was gonna fall in? I kind of had a feeling that was gonna happen. That you really can't just slide by it right next to it or nothing, you know, just squeeze it in. So I'm going slow because if you go too fast, you just go right through it and end up losing the whole plug. Now, I could put a second one right next to it because I'll be able to hold this piece with some dikes. Oh, this plug is a little bit old. Look, it's getting stuck to the paper. Now, what I'm gonna do to this one that I should have done to the other one, instead of just putting that normal lube to make it going smooth, I'm gonna use this other product that I have. There's like a black glue that is exactly for when the bead doesn't sit right on the rim. You know, you have a little leak because of imperfections. You have a rusted, I'll show it to you now. You have like a rusted rim and the bead doesn't sit. You have a leak on the side. You use this product called bead sealer. They have at the auto parts. I'll put a link if I remember at the bottom. They actually have it also on Amazon. So let me see if I remember. I'll put a link at the bottom. And I'm gonna coat this so that if it's good for to seal the beads when there's problems there, and it saves you from having to buy another rim. And to some extent, if your rim is really messed up, nothing's gonna save you. But when it's just small issues, this has worked for me. 100% has worked for me a bunch of times. I'm just not gonna tell you that it's gonna work every single time, but it does work. It's just how bad is your problem? So here's what I'm gonna do. Actually, no, I'm not gonna hold it with this because then I have to give up a hand. Let me get some vice grips to hold that from being pushed in. It's so slippery. It is so slippery that it's not grabbing. I'm gonna have to use the dikes because the dikes, you know, since they have that cutting edge, they hold better. I just didn't want to give up that hand. You see, this will hold better. I've done it like this before. That's why I knew with the dikes it was gonna be for sure. The problem is that I'm giving up my left hand. And I can't push too hard because I don't want to go in. I don't want to overdo it. Now, let's see if I hold it out enough already. Fuck! And that's what I was scared of, you see? Now that one is gonna stay unless I try to take it out sideways, because remember the thing, it's like this, so once you pull out, it's gonna release it. Let me see if I could happen to do it a little bit sideways here and keep it on the tip. Nope, lost it. Exactly what I was worried about happened. Let's give it another shot. And obviously it's not good to leave these things in there, like especially in a car, because you know, it throws off a little bit of the balancing on the tires. So, but again, this is a four-wheeler, so not super. There we go. Now, let's cut that off. But eventually, if that fails again, for sure, I have to put a patch. Or if it fails right now, it might just right now not seal properly to begin with. And the reason you don't want to leave this sticking out is because if it gets caught up on something, then it gets pulled out. I'm gonna leave it a little bit only so it could wear out as I drive it and kind of squished in there. For now, it looks like it's gonna hold. I'm also going to do a little bit of a little hack here that I'm not too sure how good it is, but someone told me about it years ago. I did it once and it worked out. That's that I'm gonna heat that up a little bit because it kind of, these patches, the way, I mean, these plugs, the way they are is that they're self-vulcanizing, which means they kind of seal them or adhere themselves to the tire because of heat. So giving it some heat will, normally when you're driving a car in the street, you know, the heat of the tire rotating and the tires go up in temperature and that helps it self-vulcanize. Here, this is never gonna happen because, you know, it's not going on the road. So what I'm gonna do with my little torch set, which here it is. I have another video if you wanna check it out. Check out all my other videos. You'll see you look up my turbo torch, which I love it because as I explained, you don't have to carry the oxygen. Acetylene is only oxygen. I mean, acetylene because that's a special thing here. This is not a regular torch. This one actually sucks oxygen through the side, which is amazing because you don't have to carry an oxygen tank. It is pricey though. It's like $300. But man, it takes away having to have another tank. Good enough. I'm gonna put this back. Now let me check that I have. Move this tank here again. And put some more air. There it goes. Perfect. Obviously, as I said, never do what I just did here of leaving this tank without being chained up against something. It needs to not be able to fall. What I was trying to explain earlier is if this hits the floor and this gets sheared here, the pressure coming out of here is going to send this flying. And if it's full, when it's full, it's 2,000 PSI. So this becomes a missile. Because it's nitrogen and inert gas, it's not an explosive missile. But this thing is about 65 pounds of steel that will fly across the air. So important to be safe with it. But as far as flammability, this is actually non-flammable. As you can see here, it says non-flammable number 2. That goes for CO2, nitrogen, argon. And this is the setup here. Just put a hose to it. That on this side on the hose, you have it hooked up to air, but to the air, what do you call it? The inflator. Now, this tells you how much pressure is inside the unit, which could be up to 2,000 pounds, PSI, pounds per square inch. This one is the one that, depending on what regulator you get, even though this shows all the way to 600, this one only lets it go up to like 120, 130. And that's what you need. You don't want one that could go up to, that says here like 2,000, and you could bring this up to 400 or 500, because if you make a mistake and you overpressure it, you'll pop the hose. And the reason is the hose is going to be sacrificed is because this, you know, when you first connect it, obviously this is on, which is holding pressure here. So it's between the regulator and here, which is the hose, what's going to give. And you have a nice popping noise of the hose going. So when you read the regulator you're going to get, preferably that the maximum that it has is 150 PSI setting. Because these hoses say 150, they'll hold more than that, but that's what they normally, the majority of them say from the manufacturer. So get one, like I'm at least I would advise that. It's low pressure if you're gonna do something like this. And what I like about this is I have actually a smaller one. There's different sizes. There's also bigger ones. And I have 2 smaller sizes. I'm gonna show you one. When I go on long trips, especially with the trailer and carrying equipment, that I'm going for long hauls, I take with me this size, which is more portable. If I'm with the trailer and the trucks, because with this one I could fill up maybe, remember, it might look little, like it only has enough to inflate a tire, but for example, with this one I could do probably, I want to say I've done maybe 12 to 14 tires with this one, regular tires. This one will do, this is a 125 cubic foot cylinder. This is a 60, which is half approximately. So you do like 6 full regular size tires, you know, like regular car tires. If it's truck tires, this one should do, on pickup trucks, like 4. This one maybe does like 8 to 10, depending on the size. Now I also have another tank, a little bit smaller, that's a 40. This is a 60 again. I have a 40 that's up to here that can also, I definitely could do several tires for cars too. And normally you're only gonna have 1 if you get a flat, 2 if you're lucky, so, or that unlucky. So with the 60, it's good enough for going on cars. I only carry this because when I'm with the trailer and everything, it's because you're more likely on like 4 or 5 hour trips with a loaded up trailer that you could get more than 1 blowout. So I'll take this one with me. And that way I could take care of myself with a flat on the road and not have to swap the tire. I could just put a plug and fill it up. And it's a lot better than even taking a compressor with you, because the little compressors take forever. And if you take one that's a tank, the tank's gonna have to be 10 times that to carry that amount, because remember the PSI on a tank is 100 and on a regular air tank is about 150 PSI. These are filled at 2,000, so the compression ratio is a lot bigger. So you carry more gas in these than you do in a regular air compressor in a smaller space. And it's a lot more because if the other ones hold 150 PSI and this is 2,000. Do the math, how many times more? It's, you know, I mean, if it just held 300, that's 100% more, you know, double. And we're talking about 2,000 PSI, so it's way more that you hold on these. And all you gotta take is that little tank and a little setup like this. And you could buy these regulators, by the way, in case you're getting freaking out that they're really expensive. You can get these on Amazon for, you know, the cheap versions, like this one. This one's actually cheap for about 35 bucks. Now, if you want to get something expensive like super high quality, the Mercedes-Benz of regulators, you get like Victor or something. Those you're looking at $100 and something and upward, depending on the model. But you don't have to go that expensive. Go with the cheap ones, they work. Let me zoom out here. Just picking up now. So 30 something dollars, little piece of hose with a thing that you could probably get that set up for like 20 bucks. Again, now you're like at $55. All you need is the tank. The tank, the welding supply, and you could buy them used and then get them exchanged of the welding supply to refill once it's empty. That little one, I think is around 30 something dollars. So it's not super expensive and you're rarely gonna use them. And it's very nice to have because it's compact. You could throw it in the trunk for trips, you know. So I think it's worth it. And you could buy a used tank of that, like Facebook Marketplace. You could find them. I want to say I've seen them, you know, $50, used ones. You buy it and then you go exchange it at the supply and get it refilled or exchange depending on what supply you go to. And that's the way to go. You buy one online from somebody else and then just exchange it. And you have yourself air with you at all times. And you can use for other things. That's nitrogen. Because the HVAC people for the AC use it, you know, for purging the system. So you could blow out air anywhere with it. It's actually better than air because air actually is flammable. You know, because the oxygen. When I say air, I mean the oxygen that we have when you use it from the compressor. It has oxygen. It's oxygen, so it actually makes fires grow. This actually is inert. This actually displaces air out of the way, so it'll extinguish fire if anything. And the other good thing about it is that there's no moisture in it, so you can use it to blow things. Like if you can put another fitting to like blow air to clean something, especially electronics, and it's actually nitrogen, which means there's no moisture in it. So it's pretty good to have. Anyways, catch you on the next one. Hope you liked it, and we'll see you then.